Hello, everybody. Welcome to Around the Jungle. I'm Evan here with my co-host Zach. And if you can't see on the screen, we're doing a mock draft today, our first mock draft of the season for the Bengals, as the NFL draft is less than 2 weeks away. So a little bit late to do a mock, our first mock, but better late than
Still
never.
getting it done.
Yeah. But before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy and want to see more draft content. And also to follow us on Instagram and Twitter for all your Bengals news. So without any further ado, let's hop into this mock. We're going to be doing full draft, 7 rounds. Let's hop in, see how the board is looking.
Hmm.
We are not taking that trade
Not
off.
thinking. All right, Tyler Warren. I doubt he's going to be there.
Probably not. But Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Jod Campbell,
Yeah, those are really good options, honestly.
Simmons, Nick Warren, Walter Nolan, Gray Zabel, Booker, James Pierce.
I would love the board to fall this
So we
way.
really have the pick of the litter.
Yeah, this would be, I think, ideal.
Which we talked about in our last episode. In an ideal world, if the board's like this, I'd probably trade down, but the Bengals will not do that.
No,
So
no,
we're not
yeah,
even going to entertain that idea.
yeah, because we don't do anything. So we're going to take a guy here. Um, Shamar Stewart is there. I like him because he's like an athletic freak. It's like a cheat code athleticism wise, and Texas A&M edges. Miles Garrett was from there, but the downside with him is just his production isn't like the numbers aren't really there. Um, Michael Williams is a option that I've been. He's kind of for most of the offseason, he's been the leading guy for me, in my opinion. But I've heard a lot of really good things about Jahad Campbell as well.
Yeah, I'm a
So
big Jahad Campbell guy.
yeah, so I mean, I think and I would agree with what you were saying last night when we were talking. You were quoting someone else. I can't remember who it was, but just saying that honestly, it's at the point right now where we just need a defensive playmaker. Our defense is so horrible that we just need somebody who's going to come in and make plays. Pretty much regardless of position. Um, so if it was me here, I would lean away from Shamar Stewart just because the production hasn't been proven yet. And we need a guy who's going to come in and, without a doubt, give us stuff now. Um, I like Tyler Booker from an offensive guard perspective because we need that as well. But I think if the board looks like this, I mean, I think we're going to go defense. I think if the board looks like this, so I would probably lean more towards one of the two of Jahad Campbell or Michael Williams is where I would be looking here. Because like I said, as good of an athlete as Shamar Stewart is, and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure he's only 20 years old too. So
Yeah,
there's
he's young.
there's a lot to like about him. There's a lot you can build on with him, but I don't think the Bengals are in a position of building right now. I think we need to get a guy who's going to come in and immediately produce. And since his numbers just weren't quite as much there in college, I just don't know if that it's a little bit more of a dart throw in my opinion. If he goes to a team that has the ability to kind of play with him and build him and has, if they're actually a good football team, then he's going to be a freak, I think. Like imagine him on the Eagles or something.
Mhm.
But we don't have that luxury and we suck. So I'd probably lean towards Michael Williams or Jahad Campbell would be the two guys I'd be eyeing here, I think. And I'm a huge Georgia defensive lineman fan. The Eagles continuously draft Georgia defensive lineman guys, and it works really well. So, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, obviously I'm a big Jahad Campbell guy. I think he's an absolute stud. When you talk about playmakers who can just come in and make an instant impact, I think he's probably top on my board with just his overall impact at Alabama and at both linebacker and edge. I mean, he had 5 sacks um, last year, and he's able to play. He's like a Micah Parsons type role where he's lined up at edge in some packages, lined up in as a backer at sometimes, and with the lack of linebacker depth that we currently have, I think if he hits, I think he could fill a edge and linebacker need. Um, and he's just an insane athlete. I think he ranked first out of all um, linebackers in the combine as out of like an athletic grade.
Hmm.
Um, and then another guy that I would probably like here would be James Pierce,
Yeah.
the edge from Tennessee. Obviously, I think there's some character concerns and like size concerns, but I mean, if you throw on the tape, he's just so dominant as a pass rusher. And I think if they are able to re-sign Trey Hendrickson, I think having a pass rush duo of him and James Pierce could be really nice. And it would take and you're not, then you wouldn't be bringing in James Pierce to be like that elite, like number one guy. So if he
Yeah.
does like not struggle, but not like blow the roof off the building, like he could still have good production because teams will most likely put all their attention still on Trey, and then that might open up some lanes for him as well.
Hmm.
So I do like James Pierce. Those would probably be my top two if we're
Yeah.
going
I
edge.
think. Yeah. I think James Pierce is definitely in the play as well. Um, yeah, I was a really big James Pierce guy for most of the offseason, so I would be perfectly happy if we did take James Pierce. Um, yeah, I think those are the three guys that, in my opinion, would be in play. Like I said, Tyler Booker's good. The guy from um, Gray Zabel is another good offensive line wise, but see, this is I said this in the last podcast episode we did too. It's this is the issue that we put ourselves in. We got two big holes and we can only fill one. So
Do
I
you
would
think with this board there's any chance they go guard over some of these defensive guys?
I would hope not, but I honestly I don't know. Like I said, I if it was me, I'd be looking at uh, James Pierce, Jahad Campbell, or Michael Williams here. Those would be my three guys. Um, Probably, in my opinion, it would be one of the Michael Williams or Jahad Campbell. But those would be the main three that I'd be looking at here. But and I don't know. I honestly I don't know because I do feel like this is a very deep defensive end or like edge class. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe you do go offensive line here, but on the same hand, you're reaching because you're passing up on a different position of need that has way better players on the board here. So
Yeah.
like if there was a guard that I think was maybe equally worthy of the 17th overall pick in comparison to these defensive guys, then maybe I would say, yeah, you might want to go guard just to keep Joe Burrow alive. But in this scenario, I don't think you really consider guard much. I think you're looking at one of those three edges.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But I think if you're the Bengals and this is how the board looks come pick 17, you have to be so happy because I mean you have Shamar Stewart who, athletically speaking, like you mentioned earlier, is at the top the of the totem pole. Like
Mhm.
he's like in the same level with Jadeveon Clowney and Miles Garrett, but you worry about the production.
Yeah.
Michael Williams is a great run defender, Georgia guy. The pass rush isn't like as great, but still pretty good. Jahad Campbell, just all around Swiss Army knife, and then you like Nicky Manware. Some people are giving him um, Darwin James comps. Walter Nolan, who I've heard is going to be a guaranteed first rounder. He
Mhm.
just had a visit with the Bengals not too long ago. He's a really good three tech guy, a pass rusher. Pierce, like we just mentioned. And then even like Ezra who's a good all around guy. And then like obviously Booker and Zabel are the two best interior offensive linemen. So I think if you're sitting at this board, it'll probably take them the full length of the time to figure out what they want to do just because there's so many options.
Yeah.
Um, but from what
I,
it sounds like the discussions we've had, we both have Jahad Campbell in our top two. So
Yeah,
Do you
I think
want
we could go with Jahad Campbell here. I think, like you said, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife, and that's kind of what we need at this point. So, just a
to?
guy who's going to come in and make plays for us. But I think it would be difficult to pass up on Shamar Stewart, just because if you look at it from an athletic standpoint, he might be the best,
Yeah, like
maybe outside of
we
Abdul
could look
Carter.
at this draft like 2 3 years down the line, and he could be one of the best, if one of the best
Yeah,
defensive ends or edges in this class.
yeah. So it's tough to pass on him because of that. It's just I would love to be in a situation where I would confidently say, yeah, let's take Shamar Stewart if he's here. Like I would love that, but just because of because of the situation the Bengals have put themselves in, and because of how bad our defense is, I don't think we can afford dart throws. I think we need guys that are going to be dang near without a doubt instant like playmakers and contributors.
Yeah,
Because if we throw a dart on Shamar Stewart and he hits, then like you said, he might end up being 2 or 3 years down the line, one of the best defensive ends to come out of this class, and that's awesome. Then we have him at only 20 some odd, early 20s, and then Trey Hendrickson. But if we throw the dart and he misses, like Miles Murphy and some other guys that we've taken recently, we're just that we're totally screwed.
yeah,
Because this of all drafts is the one that we have to nail just about every pick to compete. I think in the playoffs to be a
yeah.
playoff contender.
I
So
mean, if this was 2 years ago when we were just coming off of the AFC Championship, that's when you could afford a dart throw like Shamar Stewart.
yeah,
But yeah, now, like you said, like we need a guy who can come in, be a difference maker, and a quality starter right away. And
yeah. So
I think for me, that's Jahad Campbell.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I would love to be in the situation where we can take the dart throw and draft the best athlete on the board, but I just don't think we can afford that right now because of kind of what we did to ourselves.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think you go Jahad Campbell here, get a good Swiss Army knife, defensive
let's lock
weapon,
in the
honestly.
pick. See who's available here in the second round.
Yeah, the board is falling very well for us. We'll just reject every trade because we're not making a trade.
No. All right. So some guys that the Bengals have been linked to, they brought in Trevion Henderson and for a visit recently, Benjamin
Mhm.
Morrison, Xavier Watts, JT Moliao, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson. Um, and then if you look, let's go look at offensive line. Um, offensive line kind of got destroyed.
Yeah, so we're not looking too good
This,
for
I would
that.
like that right there.
Yeah,
That's the guy I want.
yeah. Which I mean,
But
one pick
I
today.
still do think that you have to draft a guard in the top 3 rounds.
Yes, I also agree with that, but unfortunately, this board is not looking good guard wise. So it's like, do you want to reach on a guard or do you want to just take? I don't know. Go back to the all screen. Luther Burden.
Yeah, he will not be there in the second
No.
round. I can
Yeah.
guarantee.
I don't know. I mean, what about? I know Travion Henderson has been rumored recently. I don't think we need a running back. I would like, Benjamin Morrison is a Notre Dame guy.
Mhm.
Um, what about Thomas from Florida State?
Zaire Thomas.
Yeah.
He's he's good. He's a very lengthy corner. He had a good Senior Bowl. I think he tested fairly well. Let me double check.
Hmm. I guess Tyleek Williams would. Well, we probably don't
He
need.
didn't. He actually didn't test at the combine, but
Yeah.
he's 6'1.5" with 32 3/8 arms,
Okay.
197 pounds. So he'd be a boundary guy.
I think in this situation, I'd be looking at Benjamin Morrison. As much as it pains me to say, I mean, how far down you got to scroll to find a guard? I mean,
Um,
like, It's yeah. I mean, it's not you.
65
I
for Himbo.
I feel as though that'd be a pretty decent reach.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Maybe you go Benjamin Morrison or Xavier Watts. I mean, Xavier Watts I think would be a good pick too. Actually, honestly, yeah, I'd probably go Xavier Watts because I think our corner room it needs improvement, but I think Josh Newton stepped up and showed signs of taking his game to the next level at the end of the year last year. We just spent a second round pick on the Michigan guy, DJ Turner, so. I think maybe you look at safety instead of corner here because we've got a lot of young athletic corners.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, the line, like you said, kind of got decimated. So I just don't know if it's worth passing up on Xavier Watts to reach that far for a lineman.
Wyatt Milam is a guy who could move to guard. Um, so he's a strong run blocker between the tackles with good power at contact, heavy and reliable hands, and good grip strength. He can get in trouble when truly left on an island in pass protection, which is why a move inside could be best to get the most out of him.
Okay. You're
So
still
six
reaching pretty
six
far, though.
6'6", 317. He had a 91 PFF grade this year, which was third amongst tackles.
All right.
I think Mbo's probably. I'm not a huge fan of him. Yeah, honestly, I would probably Charles Grant. He's pretty good too.
Hmm. Yeah, I think.
So yeah, I would go. I would go either um, Wyatt Milam or Xavier Watts.
I feel like Xavier Watts is definitely the better value pick here.
Yeah,
Um,
but then the like if we don't like any of the guards here right now,
it's
who's to
just gonna
say
get
that?
worse.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse. Which is why if you go back to our last video, we talked about how they kind of screwed themselves because they haven't signed a guard yet.
Yeah.
So it
And there's
forces
there's
them to
guards that
take
are on
one
the market
early.
that they still could sign. They just aren't,
Yeah.
which is really stupid. But I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe we reach. Maybe we go with the Wyatt guy.
Just hope that
I
he
mean,
pans
because
out.
at safety we got Jordan Battle and Geno Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it could be worse, and we literally don't have a guard. So yeah, this is unfortunate. I guess you probably do go Wyatt Milam here. That's not.
Yeah, so it says he projects as a high floor prospect who could contribute immediately at either tackle spot while offering legitimate guard flexibility. Um, so yeah, he has shorter arms, so probably move him to guard. So it says he's a viable target early on day two with the potential to sneak out. So,
I
yeah,
guess you go him.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean, he had a 91 PFF grade, which is pretty good. Um, and if he has a high floor and he can come in right away, then
yeah,
sounds good to me.
yeah. I mean, that's what we need. It's just really unfortunate that we don't sign a freaking guard because we're putting ourselves in this exact situation right now,
Yeah,
where it's
because
like,
if
I
we
mean,
didn't sign, if we didn't need a guard in this spot, I would look at Xavier Watts,
yeah,
Trevion Henderson, Darius Alexander, Tuimoliau, guys like
Judkins, honestly,
Judkins,
like
guys like that.
yeah, and if we would stop screwing ourselves over and go sign a guard right now, the board looks way better right now.
Yeah, I just think guards are such a pressing need
Yeah,
that,
I mean, because we're a bunch of morons, we kind of have to do this. So yeah, I guess
and there was a larger run on guards than I thought there would
yeah, I guess you're just gonna have to go with him then. My Wyatt Milam or
be.
whatever his
Wyatt
name is.
Milam.
Milam. That is a very unfortunate pick, but that's just because we're stupid. So, we did it to ourselves, as I said earlier.
All right, let's see. So we got Alfred Collins, defensive tackle. Turner, sorry, defensive tackle. Braden Swinson, Josiah Stewart, Andrew Makuba, Cam Scadaboo, Omar Norman Lott.
You could go Omar Norman Lott, maybe.
Dylan Sampson. Yeah, I like Omar Norman Lott. I think they brought him in for a pre-draft visit as well.
I mean, we're not addressing the defensive back room, but I mean, there's really not a great defensive back option here now.
No, I mean if you go safety like Makuba or Kevin Winston,
Yeah.
um, corner Parrish and Burke.
Yeah, nothing really.
So
Um, yeah,
I, I like
I'd
I
probably
like
look at
Omar
Omar.
Norman Lott.
Yeah, I'd probably
He's
look.
a big boy. Let me see what 6'2", 291, 33 and 3/4 arms. Um,
Isaiah Bond. Yeah, I'd probably look at the Omar Norman Lott. Dude, get ourselves another SEC lineman, defensive lineman.
yeah, and I think he would add more pass rushing help as well to
Yeah.
because we do need an interior pass rush because we have Slayton and BJ Hill are more run defender guys. So
Yeah, I think that's probably a decent pick going him here. Now let's see how the board falls now. Hopefully it looks a little bit better for the defensive backs here. Or I guess I mean I would be okay going running back now.
yeah,
Loki,
so
do you go Dylan Sampson right here?
Yeah, Dylan Sampson. Let's look at the running back. So Dylan Sampson, Gideon Hardy. Yeah,
Dylan Sampson's a freaking stud.
Kyle Kennard.
Mm,
So Burke, Jared Ivey at edge. That look he could be good.
yeah. I guess maybe if you wanted to go Jared Ivey here, you could do that too. I'm not really liking the DBs, so probably gonna steer clear of the DBs again. You could go Jared Ivey or Dylan Sampson here would probably be
Are
the
there
two.
any other guards? Because I do think that there is a potential where the Bengals do draft two interior offensive
Yeah, I would not hate that either.
linemen. Jackson Slater,
From Sacramento State. What
he had
about
a good
Seth
Senior
McLaughlin?
Bowl. Yeah, no, McLaughlin, he's more of a center though,
Yeah, that's fair.
which we don't really need as much. So let's see,
Yeah,
Slater, 44 starts in 4-year college career. Um, yeah, I just remember him doing pretty well in the Senior Bowl. 22 years old, 76th grade. But honestly, the scouts probably don't even know who he is because he goes to Sacramento State.
exactly. So, and we only have 4 scouts in our entire freaking front office.
They probably don't double dip in linebacker with Jihad. I
Yeah,
mean, they could go like a true edge with like Kennard, Ivy,
Ivy. Yeah,
or
that would not hurt, honestly.
just beef up the edge.
Going Kennard or Ivy. Oh, goodness. Yeah, going Kennard or Ivy here would not hurt. I mean, Dylan Sampson is enticing
Yeah, no, I like Dylan
because he's a
Sampson.
stud. But I guess if yeah, you could go with a true edge here and take Kennard. Yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah. Because the positions that we still need would be running back, DB. Yeah, we could. It honestly, it would not hurt probably to double dip on the D line or triple dip, I guess. Going with
I'm looking
Kenner.
at is Dylan Sampson, is he a good run blocker? Or pass blocker, I meant?
Yeah, I think he's pretty decent. I mean, I don't think he's going to trade on Henderson, but I think he's a pretty well-rounded back.
Yeah, so he's a 62% run blocking, or pass blocking, excuse me. Which is ninth among running backs, so.
That's solid.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, I'm fine with going Dylan Sampson.
I mean,
Because I
that
think the
yeah,
Bengals are probably thinking that one of Joseph Osai or Miles Murphy is going to take that leap, so they might not be pressed to take double edge.
that's fair. I mean, I don't think either of the two of them are going to, but but I guess for the sake of like trying to act as the Bengals right now, I wouldn't hate going Dylan Sampson here.
All right, let's go. Let's go, Sampson.
Get a Vol over here,
All right. So, what other needs do they have that we haven't addressed? Safety.
DB, and I would probably say more guard.
So let's look. So safety: Jalen Reed, Malachi Moore, corner Kobe Bryant, Jackson Slater's still there.
And Seth McCloud, we're here the center, yeah. Bring in another guy, keep Luke Kandra in Cincy.
Yeah.
I think based on those three sections, I'd probably go back to safety here and look at I can't remember what his name was. If you go back to the safety room, Malachi Moore.
Yeah, Malachi Moore.
He would
Yeah.
probably be a guy I would look at here.
Get another Alabama safety
Yeah, that's
in
probably
the
the guy
room.
that I would look at here, but
So he
um
had 70 tackles, 2 interceptions, 8 passes uh, deflected. Um, ran a 4.5.
that's pretty good. Malachi Moore
So it
or
says um, Moore's versatility became his calling card at Alabama, excelling both in the traditional safety and in the demanding star position in Saban's complex defensive scheme. His final season saw him post career highs across the board before a season-ending injury following the Auburn game, but not before cementing his legacy as one of Alabama's most reliable defensive backs.
I like what I hear there. I think I'd go Malachi Moore here.
Yeah, so he can play. Yeah, showed he can play single high, two deep, in slot, and even dime linebacker when needed. Reliable tackler, elite communicator, clean footwork in transition, high football IQ, natural ball skills, exceptional route recognition. So sounds good to me.
I like what I hear there. Got an A for the pick too, so
There we go.
see if we got any guards left here.
Um.
Not
So
really.
I mean, you can keep Luke
Honestly,
Kandra
you could
and
go with him. I mean,
we're getting
just
towards
keep
the
him in
territory
Cincy.
of where I'm not familiar with some of these guys.
I know.
Jake Majors, I know he's more of a center, isn't he?
I have no clue, but I mean,
I think he
Seth
was.
McLaughlin is still here, but I know, like you said, he is more of a center, so it's kind of like
Yeah, which I mean they might be able to play guard. Let's see, Seth McLaughlin 6'4", 305. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, there's really no.
what's the tackle? Oh, What's the tackle board look like? Guy from Oregon. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if any of these guys could be moved in.
Yeah, I'll look. There's a lot of guys in this class who can be moved into guard.
Yeah, they can be flexible players.
So who's left on the board? Redding,
Janney
Crenshaw.
Cornelius.
Yeah, that guy's not gonna be moved into guard. He's 6'7".
Oh, okay. So not him then.
I was looking at the Dixon Crenshaw Dixon guy because he was high on PFF's a little bit higher on PFF's board. Cornelius is 6'5", 315, powerful blocker with some quickness and overall speed, but a decent development player for man/gap run concepts. What's the guy, the Cincinnati guy's name?
Luke Kandra could be a he is a guard,
Right?
like or an interior lineman. So he could be a guy that you eye with the last. I mean, it's our last pick.
Yeah, I mean this is more just like a yeah. I mean, I guess if they
Shot in the
think,
dark.
let me look at. Yeah, it says Kendra's athleticism and a measured approach to the game give him the floor of a solid zone scheme backup and an average starter ceiling. The end result will depend on his ability to play with better pad level and flexibility.
I mean,
So I mean if you're drafting an average starter in the 7th round who could be a quality backup,
yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is our last pick. So honestly, at this point, it is kind of just taking a dart throw at a position of need. So I wouldn't
mhm.
mind just keeping him in Cincy. Um,
Yeah, I'm down for that.
yeah, I don't even know really most of these other people. So
Yeah, all right, let's do that. So what
got
do
an
they
extra
grade?
pick. So
B plus, B, B, A.
I would be
Okay,
quite
that's
happy if this was the draft that we had. I'm not happy with how the second round went. If the Bengals would go out and sign a guard, I would be a lot happier with how this draft went because we would have Xavier Watts in the second round. And
yeah,
that would change. I mean, I like Malachi Moore, but being able to get a guy like Xavier Watts in the second round would be huge. And not having to worry about guard as much would be really big. I mean, you can still take a dart throw in the last 2 rounds on a guard, but just I don't know. I'm not super thrilled with the second round just because of that sole reason. But I think overall I'd be happy with this draft. I think.
well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know if you agree or disagree with some of our picks, and drop in the comments some guys that you think the Bengals should go take or look at pick 17. We'd love to hear your feedback. But thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.